This is Deep in the Plus. Each week we take a different movie or TV show from the Disney Plus vault, and we tell you the history, the details, give our review, and tell you if it's worth your time. Join us now every Friday night at 7, for a new episode, or catch us anytime on youtube.com/WDWNT. This week, it's the first sports movie that we've done, the 2006 football drama. It's Invincible. The year is 1976, and things look grim for Vince Papale, played by Mark Wahlberg. After his wife dumps him and he loses his teaching job, the 30-year-old Philly resident seems to be lost. Then, the news breaks that the new coach of the Philadelphia Eagles, Dick Vermeil, played by Kinnear, is having open tryouts for the city's pro football team. This could be Vince's big chance to turn his life around, be a role model for a struggling community, and his golden opportunity to play ball for his beloved Eagles. Also starring Elizabeth Banks, Michael Rispoli from The Sopranos, and House of Cards actor Michael Kelly. So suit up and grab your helmet as we go along for this real-life journey and take you deep in the plus. So hey guys, welcome back to The Deep. This week I have a special guest with me, a friend, Jason Cordell. He is going to talk with me about a Disney movie, which I would have bet a while ago he wouldn't have done, but now that he has kids, he has to watch Disney. And we're actually going to man up a little bit and talk about a Disney sports movie because I haven't done that yet. And so Jason, how's it going, man?
Well, that was the big seller, was Disney and sports.
Right.
So.
Right. How can you go wrong? I mean, it's perfect.
And seeing as how I haven't watched football in a while live, it was as close to the actual thing as I could get.
That's why I geared up for this, because I'm not going to get to wear this anytime soon, I don't think. So, but we talk sports a lot at the station, and I know that you are much bigger football fan than I am. So I'm excited that we're finally doing a sports movie, and the movie that we picked was Invincible, starring the incomparable Marky Mark, Mr. Mark Wahlberg.
Right.
And had you seen this movie before?
I had. It had been a while, but I remembered it being a pretty good movie. And when I went back and watched it again the second time, it was a lot better than I remembered.
Oh,
actually.
Which usually doesn't happen.
Right.
You watch it and you go, it's better. Exactly. For me, I hadn't gotten a chance to watch this. I actually owned it for a while on Blu-ray. Don't ask me why I owned a movie I'd never watched, because that's a silly question, as you can tell by all the DVDs behind me.
Right.
But when I would bring this movie up in front of the fam, they would go, what else you got? Which is weird, because I know that my wife is really into those kind of true stories or the comeback movies that are out there, like Miracle or McFarland USA. For some reason, she loves that one. And so I was surprised that she never wanted to watch it. When you said you'd watch a movie with me, I was like, this is the time. I'm going to watch it. And honestly, it was, I thought, a really well done movie. Great cast. Obviously, Mark Wahlberg is in it. But right. The thing that got me was Elizabeth Banks in this. And I'm watching her and I'm thinking, why hasn't she ever hit it bigger? Doesn't it seem like she should have been a bigger deal by now? Because she's pretty good and she's almost in everything, I think.
Although the one thing I will say is my wife was watching with me and we both looked at each other and was like, that New York accent is a little terrible.
And your wife is from?
She's from New Jersey.
Okay. So if anybody's going to call it, it's going to be her.
But it was like, all right. And it grows on you as the movie goes along, but when she first starts talking, it's like, all right, that's just awful.
Like an SNL sketch, or Kevin Costner and Robin Hood.
Or like any movie with anyone from Boston. It's like...
Well, what's weird that you bring that up is I feel like I kind of, when Mark Wahlberg's character Vince was in the kitchen with his wife in the beginning, and he's talking to her, I'm thinking, this is supposed to be Philly, but it feels like Boston. If you didn't know it was Philly, it kind of would have felt like Boston because of his accent. So his was bothering more than hers was. But I see what you're going with there. They did try to make it a little over the top that she was a Giants fan. Right. And the NFC East, big rivalry, and everybody knows the real rivalry is the Redskins, right? I mean, obviously.
Of course.
Oh, sure. Yes, please do not comment below. So when I'm watching this and I'm thinking that, it's almost like we know it's a true story, and they
Right.
have to romanticize it and sensationalize it a little bit, but just going to that extra effort to show that she's a Giants fan, and they can never work in this silly world that we live in where they're both rivals on the football teams, and so I did think that was a little over the top.
Yeah, it felt like we're looking for, okay, they're not really Romeo and Juliet, so what can we do to make them make it not work?
Right. Their parents don't hate each other, but they have differing NFL preferences.
Right.
Yes, I gotcha. So again, the cast was also full of a lot of like, don't I know them from somewhere? People, right?
Like his best friend. I kept the whole movie. I was sitting there thinking, like, I know this guy from somewhere. I know this guy from somewhere. And then finally, it clicked to me that House of Cards. That's that's where I know him from.
Right. So when the movie opens up, it opens up on this Bengals versus Eagles 1975, and talking about how much the Eagles suck. And again, as a Redskin fan, nothing makes me happier than to see a bad Eagles situation. But apologies to anybody who is from Philly, but Eagles fans are the worst. And they talk about it.
When that scene opens, I got, this has to be a Disney movie because that's the tamest I've ever seen a Philadelphia crowd, especially for a bad Eagles team.
Right.
And they even reference it in the movie. You're like, this is the crowd that threw snowballs at Santa Claus.
And also beat up the Redskins mascot, but we won't talk about that either. So another thing that like gets me about these like true life movies is that I usually know the story. Like I knew the basic gist of this one, but I usually know the story. So in like Titanic, the reason that I don't like Titanic is because when I watched it, I knew the ship was going to sink. And
Right.
so, like, the whole time I'm, like, just waiting for that to happen. So this was a little more vague for me. Like, obviously, we knew he was going to make the team because he's on the cover. And I didn't know this story very well. So I think for me, I enjoyed it more because of that. Again, being a huge football fan, were you already familiar with this story before you saw the movie the first time?
I was not familiar with this story. I'm familiar with, like, Dick Vermeil coming to the Eagles and taking them to the Super Bowl and his time with the team, but I had no idea about Vince or any of that being an actual part of the story. I had no idea that was even a thing until I saw the movie.
Yeah. I don't know. Do you watch It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia? Have you ever?
Yes.
And so you saw the episode where they kind of parodied this whole thing, right?
Yeah.
Because that's like, again, one of those things where like I get it in my head. It's almost like watching Spaceballs before you watch Star Wars. Like you've seen the spoof before the original. They're out there and they're like at Veterans Stadium and it's like, this is our big break. And then they think they're going to meet Donovan McNabb, but it's just some dude that they hired for the day. And so it was modern day, but it was basically the same thing. And it was really cool that, the whole idea of this is that, that Dick Vermeil comes to a town with a struggling Philadelphia Eagles team, and as sort of a PR stunt more than anything, says he's going to have open tryouts, and that everybody gets to come and try it out. And obviously, Eagles fans, being as passionate as they are, would love a chance to go out and try out for the Eagles and be on the field at Veterans Stadium. So it was neat to see that and like the kind of people that turned out in the movie. And I wonder if like the guy with the cape was a real story, who comes to try out.
I have to think that there were some of those guys there that it was more of a, why did we do this kind of situation?
And then at the end where he like decides Vince is the guy that he wants to, to bring on. And then, all the other players, like, they don't like his kind around here. And I honestly, I get that, and it kind of feels like something from the days with the Scabs in the NFL when they were on strike, is that, this guy comes in who didn't go through the system, who didn't pay his dues, and he gets to be on the team with them. So I think that they did a good job portraying what that was like, rather than, this being like a straight up Rudy story.
Right. Although I will say that I went back and I did some research about like the actual story, because, some of the story is very Hollywood.
Sure.
And, you've got to make it a better story. And, it wasn't necessarily a case of he wasn't playing football at all. He was a indoor arena football player before he made the team. He was actually invited to this open tryout.
Devastating.
Which, when you learn that, you're like, well, this kind of takes away from the story. I wish I hadn't read all of this
Well, I wish you hadn't have
about.
told me. Yeah, absolutely. Because, I mean, even my wife and daughter who do not like football are sitting there rooting for this guy. And, they're making comments like, if football was like this all the time, we might actually watch it with the multiple angles and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, okay. I mean, there's enough drama in football for me anyway that I enjoy it as it is. I'm that's disappointing. I feel like I didn't need to know that.
Well, what led to that was, like, the ending of the movie. He causes the fumble and then he picks it up and runs it in for a touchdown.
Right.
And that's a great Hollywood story. But the football fan of me was like, I'm pretty sure you can't pick up a fumble and run it on a punt. And so I went to check that rule. And that's where I was like, all right, well, okay, so he did cause a fumble in real life. That is a true story. He just didn't score the touchdown, and that's the difference there. But I understand scoring a touchdown makes it a better Hollywood story. But the football part of me was like, oh, that it's a great story, but that can't be right.
Another kind of like factor in this is it's trying to be a very real story about the time, and it actually is a very well-aged movie. I think that they made a good attempt to make it feel like it was done in 1975, 1976. It has kind of a sepia kind of a feel to it, like as far as the color scheme. They play the heck out of some 70s music. I mean, a lot of Jim Croce.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's like, okay, dial it down a bit. We get it. It's the 70s. Like, I think maybe Brandy was in there. Like, that song might have been playing. So, and the clothes were like, a little over the top. The cars were a little over the top. That is, it's like, it's trying to cement the fact that this is happening in the 70s. But one of the things that they also try to show is how bad the employment levels were at the time, which, again, right now hits home pretty hard. But, there was a strike against Westinghouse, and it seems like everybody in the town was, kind of involved with that in one way or another. Everybody's struggling while they're in the bar. Everybody's talking about those who have jobs and those that don't. He's trying really hard to keep a job at the school, and then he loses that, and then his wife just dumps him. I mean, it seems like that, too, was a little thin. Like, his wife dumped him because he lost his job. Right. I feel like there must have been a little bit more there because he seemed like he was a guy that had it together, except he was just trying and not succeeding.
Yeah, I loved the part about them incorporating the strike because I thought it really brought the storyline together and him being sort of the inspiration for the town that has really nothing else to inspire it other than him trying to make the team. Yes, his wife leaving him after, almost like before he can get home from losing his job.
Right.
And at least he's still got the other job at the bar. I mean, he's bringing home some money. He can afford that house apparently because he continues to make enough money to live there. But, I like the story. I like the storyline about the strike, and it made it feel more real and more of an impactful story just to have that going on.
Yeah,
sort of the side.
That everybody needs something to believe in it at this moment in time.
Right.
Yeah. No, I agree. And the other thing about the kind of like the like losing his job and then he comes home and he like punches holes in the wall. He's gonna have to pay to fix that. I'm just saying, even if he goes down to Home Depot and gets some drywall, he's gonna have to pay to fix that. That seemed like a bad idea. But I also kind of sort of imagine like Mark Wahlberg could be that guy in a different life. So it was very believable, watching him do that. Okay, so you've probably seen a lot of inspirational sports movies, I assume.
Right.
Okay, so how does this rank up there for you now that you've seen it again? I mean, do you feel like, this is one of those that, like, lays up there with Remember the Titans or Rudy, or is this just, like, a poor man's Rudy?
I wouldn't say it's a poor man's Rudy. Rudy and Remember the Titans, probably two of my favorite football movies of all time. And I think the problem with sports movies is it's a very thin line between being a good movie and being incredibly cheesy. There have been a lot of sports movies that you can tell the actors have no athletic ability whatsoever. And it really shows when you cut to the scenes of them playing sports and it looks terrible. But I thought this one did a very good job of depicting like actual football, like showing that Mark Wahlberg had some sort of talent, and so it wasn't. I wouldn't say it's on the level of Rudy, but it's a very good football movie, and I feel like it's not one of those that I'd be like, oh, this is just a cheesy sports movie. It's I'm not buying any of the story.
Right. Well, and yeah, absolutely. I think he was in some pretty prime physical condition when he did this movie, and it really did look like he was beating these guys in these foot races and catching the ball and hitting these guys and taking the hits and all that. One thing that I actually came across was that the scene where he gets knocked out of bounds, like just tackled out of bounds. I don't know if you came across this when you were looking this up or not, but apparently that was a college ball player that they brought in for those scenes that actually hit him, that actually hit Mark Wahlberg and knocked him down, and wasn't supposed to do that. Like, that was not in the script for him to do that, and he hit him and knocked him down, and because he did that, they kept it in, but they let the guy go. So I kind of freaking love that story, that's the thing. And, you see that a lot, that people are like, hey, like she was going to throw a punch and fake it, but she actually hit him, and we used that take because it took him by surprise and it looked real. So he got decked in that scene.
But I think that's what makes it look realistic is, like, in the movie, he basically gets blindsided and knocked out. So the idea that he actually got blindsided and knocked out helps sell the point.
Yeah, blindside. That's something different. So this is your first time on Deep in the Plus. You watched this movie. You've seen it again now. For someone who hasn't seen this movie and has Disney Plus, here's the big ask: is would you, Jason Cordell, recommend this movie?
Absolutely, I would. I feel like it's a good time. It's a feel-good movie. There's a lot to laugh at in the movie. There's some very serious parts, but then there's also some humor in there that you're like, all right, this is a good time. So yeah, I would absolutely recommend it.
When you say there's a lot to laugh at, you mean Elizabeth Banks and her New York accent?
Right.
Okay. You know what? I agree with you. Like, I think it's a good movie, and I think it's a genre that a lot of people who have Disney Plus will probably miss. I think a lot of people like you have it for their kids, and you're going to be watching, the animation, and you're going to be watching the shorts and Forky Asked a Question and stuff like that around your house. So it's good to me that there's something else and another genre on there that's not just the documentaries and the nature shows or the romantic comedies. This is a kind of another genre that you can do. And Remember the Titans is also on there. So I think this movie actually has something for everybody, and the fact that my wife and daughter enjoyed it, I think, proves a little bit of that. For me, I would definitely recommend it. Here's the thing, though. I would recommend it, and I think people should see it, and especially people who are like NFL fans, because I think they were true to the NFL in this one, because a lot of movies that do football don't have the rights to do that, and they have some weird fake name teams, or, so it just doesn't have that realism because they don't have, like, the buy-in from the NFL. So the fact that they had that was pretty cool. My only thing is, I don't know that I'd go back and watch it again. Like, I know you said that you watched it again, but that's only because I made you. So I don't know that it's one I'd watch over and over again. And maybe that goes back to the idea with me personally, the fact that I, like, when I know what's coming because it's a true story, that I kind of, like, am prepared for it the entire time. I mean, any movie you watch once, you already know what's going to happen. But for some reason, I wouldn't re-watch it, I don't think. But I definitely would say it's something that people should watch, and especially if you're into sports movies, this is a good one. So if you agree or disagree, let us know in the comments. And Jason, thanks for reviewing this movie with me.
Absolutely.
All right, Jason, so you know how this works. You also have to make a pick of the week. And judging by the toys that are behind you that I know are not yours, that you stole from your son, I'm going to assume you're going to do some sort of an animated movie.
Yeah, so this one, we'd actually been watching Ozark nonstop.
With your kid?
No, not with my kid. But we had burned through that, and we were like, Jason Bateman's a really good actor. What else has he been in? And I was like, well, he was in Zootopia, and my wife had never seen it. My son had never seen it. So I was like, let's put Zootopia on. And so we watched Utopia, and basically the entire family was like, "How does this movie been on Disney Plus this long and we've never seen it?" It was absolutely fantastic. There was stuff in there that both me and my wife enjoyed, and then my son just loved the animals. I mean, every animal he goes like, "Daddy, there's a rhino." And he's like completely missing the whole Godfather spoof and all of that going on. But we're loving it as parents, and he's loving all the animals. So we thought it was a fantastic movie, and it's definitely become one that's now in heavy rotation in our house.
So you've watched it, but you've also watched it a lot.
That's right.
Yeah, shame on you. That's a good one. And I agree. Jason Bateman really makes that movie. So that's a strong pick. For me, I have a hot take. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
I don't think you're ready. So they dropped onto Disney Plus. Hold on to something. Taylor Swift, City of Lover tour. Yes. Look, hang on a second. So here's the deal. I like Taylor Swift. But more than that, I was interested to see that they're adding, again, more content, more different types of content. I think when people think Disney Plus, they're going to think just Mickey Mouse cartoons and animated features and live action remakes, and that's all that there is to it. So it was kind of cool that they took this, and I think they ran it on ABC, and then they brought it to Disney Plus. And it's a good show. I mean, it's basically like the show she would have been doing this year had there not been COVID-19. And so it's really cool to see her run through like the hits that have come off the Lover album. And again, like I said, it's a hot take. I don't expect everybody to run out and watch this, but I think that if you're a Taylor Swift fan, you've probably already seen it 18 times. So I don't need to convince you. But if you're not and you just like her music, it is really well done, and it is kind of got a touch of documentary style stuff to it, where she's backstage and she does a lot of talking about the album and the songs that she did, and it's just the songs from the Lover album. If you're upset with me right now about this, you need to calm down. You're being too loud. But again, I love that it's something new and different. There's a ton of stuff that I think is missing from Disney Plus, and a lot of TV specials. The Christmas parades should be on here. It seems like a no-brainer. And so I love that they're mixing up the content they put here, so that it's not just I have to sit down with Disney Plus and either I watch a movie or like binge watch Boy Meets World or I'm out. So I like that they're doing new things. So again,
nothing wrong with binge watching Boy Meets World.
Well, I mean, again, my pick was Taylor Swift, so I've already put myself in this pocket here. But thank you for being with me on this, Jason. Thank you guys for watching it, and we'll see you next time. Thanks a lot.
If you like what you're watching, make sure you like and subscribe. You can also find us on social at Deep in the Plus on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. And if you're a Disney Parks fan, don't forget to catch me and Rob on Park Center Wednesday nights at 9 p.m. on WDWNT.com.